You are about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating talk radio. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
Oh, you're getting the truth. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. The problem is when I give you the truth, somebody from the Biden administration was saying that was misinformation. I was right. I was right the whole time. I don't need an apology, but I tell the truth. Unlike some people, such as Dr. Anthony Fauci, who is now facing multiple accusations from Republican lawmakers led by Senator Dr. Rand Paul over how he handled the COVID-19 pandemic, misled Congress allegedly, covered up the virus origins allegedly. So there was a very heated hearing this week before the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee. A lot of allegations were levied against Fauci. Fauci has vehemently denied all these claims, dismissed them, and remember, Joe Biden pardoned him. Why would he pardon Dr. Fauci unless he knew that there was going to be wrongdoing coming out? So while he was accused of covering up the lab leak theory, funding dangerous gain-of-function research, he had the contradictory stances on lockdowns and mandates, saying that, he didn't really have a role in that, yet there was, I guess, proof that, he, told Mayor Bill de Blasio to force strict and business lockdowns. He was accused of using government staff for financial gain, applying for him to get grants and awards. One was the Israel-based Don David Prize, which gave him $1 million. And then promoting harmful advice and vaccine injuries. This is being pursued by Senators Ron Johnson and Rick Scott, accusing Fauci of pushing experimental mRNA vaccines without unfavorably safety information and offering haphazard guidance that destroyed public trust, forced loved ones to die alone in isolation, and harmed American businesses. So when Fauci was brought up to the Senate, all right, we have a clip of what he said. Here we go.
Although it pains me to do so, because of the respect I have for the legislative branch of government and my decades-long record of cooperating with Congress, under the advice of my attorneys, I will invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution to refrain from answering your questions. Thank you.
Dr. Fauci, can you just turn around and look at the people behind you? You're not willing to do that? Look at the people who were absolutely shamed for saying what we know now to be the truth. You can't even look at them?
People wonder, well, what's the difference? What is the invoking of the Fifth Amendment? So you have the constitutional right to avoid answers that could be self-incriminating. Though when somebody invokes the Fifth Amendment, it says my counsel suggested I do that, and I think he invoked it 111 times this week. He is exercising his constitutional right to decline answering questions to avoid self-incrimination. In contrast, criminal contempt is where you willfully disobey a lawful court or congressional order. So that's a little tricky because if, this is in defiance, Congress needs to know answers. He says, no, I'm not giving them to you. He could be held in contempt. But there's that right that you have to not self-incriminate. The problem is if I believe, and I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a law scholar, but when something goes to trial, what ends up happening is if somebody is going to incriminate themselves, usually the defense team won't put that person on there. They won't put that person on the stand. But because this isn't a criminal court case, this is a let's get down to the facts and figure out what you did and why you did it. He's able to invoke the Fifth. And so here we are with absolutely no answers. Now, they say that if somebody invokes the Fifth, you should not look at them as guilty. You should not assume that, they did any wrongdoing. But, you have a physician who worked for both administrations. If he did nothing wrong, he should answer the questions. And it's expected of the doctor that led the COVID response. Get out there and answer questions. And his very first interviews on COVID were actually sound when he said, look, these masks are not going to protect you 100%. They'll provide a barrier, but these masks are not going to be adequate. And I'm watching this guy going, okay, he's a smart guy. And then you start to see all the back and forth, and you know, I really lost respect for him when he said that he felt like in the Trump administration he couldn't stand there and say what he needed to say, and he had to kind of appease the Trump administration in the end of during the election year. And to me, that already violates our code of ethics in medicine. I understand he was making a $400,000 salary for that job. But if you don't believe in what you're doing with that job, if you really feel like, and again, he said this once he worked for Biden. He seemed very happy with his $400,000 a year job when he was working with Trump. But he said later he wasn't, that he did not feel comfortable. Well, then you leave. If you at all feel that you're wanting to do gain of function research or whatever, and what you want to do is not going to be a perfect fit, why keep the job? So very suspect on a bunch of fronts. When we know more, we'll let you know. 1-877 Dr. Dolly. Hi guys, Dr. Dahlia here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping, addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdahlia.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
Hi, it's Mark Falter, host of the Financial Fitness Show. I strongly believe that no one should ever pay 1 penny more in taxes than they are legally obligated. Unfortunately, for most hardworking Americans, this just isn't the case. Why? Because most people spend more time planning next weekend's getaway than trying to ensure they're going to pay less in taxes. My financial fitness team has put together some materials that I know are going to help you. It's the Tax Savings Kit. Tax Savings Kit includes 3 things: free tax analysis, top 10 ways to pay less in taxes, and an investor's guide to taxes. Now, how do you get it? Simple. 866-764-2635. Again, 866-764-2635. I'm Mark Falter. This is Financial Fitness, making personal finance profitable.
Welcome back to the Dr. Dolly Show, 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So interestingly, it seems like everybody and their mother is going to Alaska this summer. We were at the airport waiting to get home. We were just at the airport about 6-7 hours ago, landed, and I came into the studio, ran into some good friends going to Alaska. And it's fascinating to me how, remember a few years ago, it was all about Iceland. And then a few years back, everybody was going to Mexico because there were cheap vacations. And well, Alaska has been, offering some deals, but it is extremely expensive up there. And people always ask, am I doing the Dr. Dahlia Show Alaska cruise again? What is better to see Alaska? Is it better to be on a cruise ship? Is it better to just fly to Anchorage and then rent a car and explore? So we've done both. And for those of you that want to get out of the heat and want to see one of the most beautiful states, which I believe that area we bought for $7.2 million from the Russians. And that was back in, I think, 1867. What a purchase. In fact, Seaward, when you see Seaward Highway, he was the one instrumental in that. If I could look this up, he was the one instrumental in that deal. And he, U.S. Secretary of State William H. Seward and Russian Minister Eduard de Stockel. This is why we have the Russian River, still named the Russian River. You have Seaward Highway. The Seaward city is very, very cool. Good fishing out of there. And so they called it Seward's Folly because they thought he purchased this ice tundra, land that nobody can live on and animals can't live on until they realized there was gold. And so we got this for pennies on the dollar with a $7.2 million price tag. Alaska became a state in 1959, I believe. So, and I'm glad. And of all the states in America, and I've been to almost every one, even though everyone has such beauty, just its beauty, nothing else like Alaska. Just the water and the green of the trees and the snow-capped mountains. It is just, it's almost like you're in the Alps. So Alaska, fantastic. But people ask, well, should you do a cruise or should you go and explore? If you've never been to Alaska, I would suggest you do the cruise for your first trip. Because when you'll go up an inside passage, you don't get really that seasick. Because with the exception of being around Juneau in the open water, you're usually in very calm water. So it's very calm. It's exquisite. You see the glaciers. You see the icebergs. You see the seagulls. You could see whales, dolphins. You could see a lot on the cruise ship. And usually these captains are really, really good about letting you know, hey, guys, you might want to look starboard side or the port side, for this or that. Plus, if you prefer to have the, I don't want to worry about where we're going to eat. I don't want to worry about the, how much I have to pay for this. I just want to be wallet free and just enjoy my vacation. Cruises are wonderful for that. So I've done 2 or 3 Alaska cruises, all worth it. When you stop at the Ketchikan or Skagway, if you're going to do an excursion, make sure you do it through the cruise line. Now, a lot of people don't. They try to do it on their own because it's cheaper. The only problem is if you get back to the cruise late, they leave you. Now, if you're on an excursion of theirs, they're not going to leave you. But if you did your own a la carte and it's time for them to go, they leave. They tell you they're going to leave. So the cons then to the cruise, even though the cruise has so many pros, but it's all you can eat, all that entertainment at night, and you get to see so many different cities in Alaska. But the critique is, you're stuck, and you're stuck on a ship. If people get sick on that ship, are you going to be able to get off of it? Or are they going to make you quarantine in the room for 2-3 weeks? If you did want to go fishing and not want to pay the high charter prices, they're usually higher because they know they got a captive audience. If these people want to fish, they're going to want to fish and get back on the boat. So it's going to be much more expensive. So even though I can't wait to go on a cruise again, in fact, some of our friends are like, yeah, let's go to Alaska. I've never been. So we might go with them again. But again, you got to get the good rates. You got to get the discounts. We were able to go because I was able to get a flight for $430 round trip to go to Alaska. Now, still, that's a pretty penny, but that's way cheaper than my flight to New York, way cheaper to a flight to Hawaii. So always look for the deals. Don't travel in peak times like June, July. I understand you all want to get out of the heat. But if you really want to enjoy Alaska and you want to do it more reasonably and save some money, the prices are so much cheaper May, September. But during the summer, it's very, very expensive. So another thing is they're going to Alaska will sell these excursions for you to see the bears, for you to see wildlife. I think that's fantastic, but they're very, very expensive excursions. They have an Alaskan conservatory park where the animals can hide from people looking at them, but they have a terrain that makes it much more realistic. And so if you're like, look, I just want to see a grizzly bear. I don't have to see him up front. I don't have to see him on the side of the road. I just want to see a grizzly. Go to the conservation park because you get a lot of that scratch itched from there. I would do a lot of hiking, do a lot of fishing. As I said before, we got nailed with a fine because we went salmon fishing and they changed the rules online, which we didn't see a week prior because it wasn't there online, where you couldn't use certain bait and your hook had to be under 3/4 and not over 3/4, something like that. So make sure you know your rules. But if you fish, there's places that will cook your fish for you. So if you're worried about going out to eat, 'cause it's so expensive, you can cook. They'll cook your fish. Be very, very careful about some of these processing fish companies. Some of them now are actually open about something we suspected for years. So they'll say, look, you bring in the fish and we will, with a quick turnaround, give you your salmon, your halibut, equitable to what you actually caught. And then somebody will ask, well, isn't it our fish? No, I'm giving you yesterday's fish. Your fish is going to be used for the customer that comes in tomorrow. Well, you kind of want to, eat what you caught. Yeah, it's just that. So I find that very, very odd. But if they don't have time for the turnaround, that's what happens. Now, we found a place who said they could vacuum seal it. They could freeze it, but they don't have dry ice. They couldn't flash freeze it. They'd have to freeze it in a freezer. I'm like, well, we have a freezer in our cabin, so I'll just freeze it. So we froze it. We packed it up. There's special bags at Fred Meyer pharmacy sells stores. So we were able to pack it up, still send it, and now we got some good halibut to eat. Yeah, because we caught a halibut. That was really, really great. How we did that trip, it was cheaper for us to rent our own boat for all four of us than to pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars of an excursion for fishing. So that was fascinating. We saved a lot of money on that. We also made sandwiches. We went to the grocery store a lot, made food that way. We only went out to dinner maybe once a night or once every other night. Going out to eat's very expensive. Gas is still very expensive. The hotels are ridiculously expensive. Go with other families so that you can then share the room, things like that, or share the Airbnb. So there's advantages to the cruise because you get to see a lot. Your room, you have a place to stay that isn't going to upcharge you ridiculously. You have beautiful views. You're on the water. It's a great way to see Alaska. But if you want the time where you could go do a 4.5-hour hike, and go and see Thunderbird Falls or River Rock Falls like we did, Russian River Falls, or some of the gorges, you need to plan that out. And so I would say first time beginner, do the cruise. For those of you who are veterans, and you're like, look, I know the site I want to go to. I'm going to fly in, and that's where I'm going to go. I would do that too. There's the base, Jaber Base, Air Force Base. Actually, it's a joint base with, I believe, the Army and possibly Marines. Beautiful base. What's fascinating about the base is you get bears and animals walk by. So a lot of times when we're like, well, we want to go see wildlife, rather than drive another hour out of the city, we're like, you know what, let's just go on base. Then we were able to see the wildlife and all that. It was really nice. But I mean, Alaska is probably one of my favorite states. It is so beautiful, so crisp, so clean. It looks like they're trying to get rid of the that rank voting. I saw a lot of signs saying to vote no on the rank voting and go back to whoever wins, whoever exceeds, the vote number moves ahead. So that's interesting to see what's happening over there. Last month there was a lot of homeless people. This month, still, but it looks like they are, helping them and getting them off the street. So we're getting there. All right, 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away.
Looking for a gift that can actually help secure someone's future? It's Mark Falter's new book, Common Sense Income Strategies. It makes the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using time-tested strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. To learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Secure your future with Common Sense Income Strategies by Mark Falter. Again, to learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635.
We are back on Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877 Doc Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. Well, being that it is the thick of the summer and it is hot, you don't really hear a lot of frostbite or hypothermia stories. My son and I got pretty hypothermic just 2 days ago. We're on a boat in the Kenai fjords and fishing there, and it was cold, it was windy. We were covered up. We had layers, but man, we were freezing, just freezing. And I could feel myself start to get, ill and early hypothermia. Well, luckily we got out. I took a hot shower. So did he, separately, and got warm clothes on, and we were fine. But we have a very tragic case where an Amazon engineer, a 32-year-old man, died after swimming in the icy waters of Lake Tahoe. Lake Tahoe is a lake between California and Nevada, up in the western corner of Nevada. And sadly, the 32-year-old, Yadessa Aga, was found unresponsive at the North Sand Harbor boat ramp in Nevada around 8 p.m. on Monday. This is according to the Washoe County Sheriff's Office. They said, according to Daily Mail, when deputies arrived, they discovered that Aga had been brought to shore by bystanders. Life-saving measures were immediately performed on him at the scene, and he was pronounced dead. So they aren't really suspecting foul play. Right now, it's being investigated as an accidental drowning. Aga swam towards a group of offshore boulders around dusk before going underwater, they said. So, this is pretty frightening. I mean, I've swam there. They say the Sand Harbor State Park is known for its crystal clear water and sandy beaches. Lake Tahoe's water is known to be very cold, even in the summer months. Oh, absolutely. It's glacier. By the way, I got to taste glacier water. Oh, it's delicious. These watered bottles that make it sound like they're Alaska's glacier water, it doesn't. No. Really is good taste if you could actually tap into the glacier and drink some. We did use a guide for that, and that was just absolutely fantastic. So going back to Mr. Aga, he's a software engineer from Austin, Texas. He decided to stop at a popular beauty spot after attending a church conference, Sand Harbor. And the frigid temperatures take over the water. The lake has massive depth because this is snowmelt. and deep water of welling when cold water from the depths and the lake rises to the surface. So according to Take Care Tahoe, which is a public education campaign, sudden immersion of the water can cause increased breathing rates and your muscles to lock up. I think it could also cause hypothermia. It's a no-no. It's bad. So what happened? Well, maybe the cold water caused a shock. This has been documented before. I believe last year there were 7 people drowned just from jumping into cold water. He's survived by his parents, by his family and friends and church, and so he that we wanted to convey that. But why is this happening? Why is cold water now dangerous? We're afraid of cold water. It's I always tell people to test the water before they go in. The idea of your body getting shocked is definitely a big fear. It's that your body needs to acclimate. So you can't just go from 0 to 90 degrees or from 100 degrees down to 45. Your body's not going to do well. The immune system isn't going to work well and you'll get sick. This is why I believe when your grandmother would say, you better close the window because if you get a chill, you'll be sick the next day. Well, I once had a chill. I got a chill. So I went and closed the window. Then I went to bed. And the next day I had cough, cold, ear infection, etc. Now, I'm not saying opening the door did that because bacteria take 48 to 72 hours to be developed or to be manufactured, or the bacteria take that long to be able to fight something, and then you need medications like antibiotics to fight those. With this, an icy water sponge bath, where some people do that on a regular basis, where they jump on in and everybody gets pictures of them and they think it's all exciting. It's dangerous. You don't be doing that. Don't let your body be exposed to high heat, high or colder temperatures. We talk about this all the time, that when somebody starts to get hypothermic, they go through stages. And one of the most common stages is them shaking their hand with the pill rolling tremor, or using with the hypothermia, if they're sometimes if they're quiet, if they don't seem to be responding well, if they're not thinking as well. Those are things that can, unfortunately, pill rolling tremor we see with Parkinson's, but with hypothermia you could also have tremors. And so when somebody starts to not look well, and they don't seem to not necessarily be in tune and talking to you, grandma's outside watching the barbecue, get her back in. And by the way, air conditioning is making people hypothermic, so that's not cool. New Year's Eve, we get all dressed and we get all excited and we wear fancy dresses and heels or fancy shoes, etc. Do we really put on galoshes, thermal underwear, winter coat, earmuffs? No. So a lot of people are just not dressing properly. In this particular case, he jumped into a freezing body of water. And just because in a body of water you feel like you're getting warm, and you feel like you're getting used to it, you're still evaporating heat. The water medium still allows you to take in heat. And so I would understand that. Make sure you have a buddy, making sure they're watching out for your signs of hypothermia. As you know, hypothermia is a dangerous drop in body temperature, can occur as quick as minutes. Our average body temperature is around 98.6. They're thinking about changing that number because a lot of people run lower. But right now it's 98.6. But if your hypothermia starts to get at 95 degrees Fahrenheit, again, this is in reference to what your pre-temperature was when you feel fine. 95 degrees Fahrenheit, people would have shivering, increased respiratory and heart rate, and even confusion. They say sugar, glucose stores get used up so quickly that make matters worse, and people get very hungry. Sometimes they get so hungry and so uncomfortable, they say, to heck with it, I'm going to get something to drink. Now, frostbite can occur when blood flow decreases to the tips of your ears, fingers, nose, and toes. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. So if your ears, fingers, nose, and toes, which are the tippity tip outer extremities that hardly ever hear or see the heart, these guys, they really want to make sure that we have good protection for them. So they can come with us. That's fine. So hypothermia, that sadly, people lose drunk when they take it, or when they start to, I guess, undergo the changes. If you're drinking, people might go, oh, that's just my drunk buddy, and he's tired and he's stumbling, he's drunk. That could be a sign of hypothermia. Going back to swimming, for those of you who are near Lake Tahoe, which is one of my favorite lakes, or you want to jump into the water near Hawaii, understand that water is colder. You are going to be evaporating heat. You could run the risk of hypothermia. You always get quizzed in wilderness medicine, which is the best thing to do, to stay in the water where you feel warm or get on the boat where you're shivering because you're wet. It's better to get on the boat and out of the water because you lose less heat. There's less heat transfer. Oh, it's crazy. So, we'll keep you posted on any new developments. 1-877 Dr. Dolly. Don't go away. Hi, everyone. Dr. Dahlia here. Thousands of physicians, residents, nurses, and medical students are silently dealing with depression. And tragically, 400 take their lives each year. 400! I wrote The Depressed Doctor, hoping to reach out to anyone struggling. You're not alone. Don't stay silent. The Depressed Doctor can be found on Amazon, or the book can be found on drdahlia.com. And if you or anyone you know needs help, call or text 988, the National Suicide and Crisis Hotline.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hotshot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com.
Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Hey, America. How tired are you of mainstream corporate media's biased narratives and manipulated news? Their dishonesty and attempts to influence this generation have been exposed, put on display for anyone who's even half paying attention. But the New American Magazine has been an honest source of news and commentary for over 50 years. This is your opportunity to receive the stalwart of principled journalism at a deep discount. Picture a beautifully published magazine arriving at your doorstep twice a month, packed with insightful stories written with integrity. It's also available digitally on the New American's mobile app. Get up to speed with intelligent coverage from a freedom perspective. Right now, for a limited time, the New American is available to radio listeners at a 25% discount on a new subscription. Visit thenewamerican.com/radio25 and receive 25% off. Subscribe today at thenewamerican.com/radio25.
And we're back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. 1-877 Dr. Dahlia, 1-877 DOCDALI. So in football, you see rankings. Who's going to be MVP? Who's going to be a first draft pick? Who's not going to get picked? Who's going to get traded? It's pretty public. It's pretty humiliating. But that's what we have in football. See it in basketball. We see it in hockey. In the schools, we used to publicly humiliate kids. And I didn't like that. I got humiliated. They would call me up to spank me. I'd have to get spanked in front of the classroom. I remember in second grade, Mr. Eby put me in a dunce cap. Now, it wasn't because I wasn't getting good grades. It's because I was acting up and making jokes. So he'd put me in a dunce cap, and here I am, a 7-year-old girl bawling because I have to sit there with everybody staring at me in a dunce cap. I think humiliation is not the way to go. But it's being brought up by adults looking at the poor school performances, the poor academic performances, the poor dieting. And they look back to their childhood where if somebody said you're getting fat, they're like, whoa, okay, I didn't see it, so I'm going to start eating salads. I'm going to start exercising more, right? Or if the teacher's like, look, Johnny got an A. This is this is doable. You guys should be able to do what Johnny does. You're like, really? I thought this type of math was only done by nuclear physicists and rocket scientists. But if you're telling me Johnny, who picks his nose, can do this math, all right, well, then maybe it's not that hard. So they remember going through school where your grades were posted. I think even in my medical school, they posted the grades. So I would always start low, and then work up. Yeah, everybody starts looking up. I'm like, you know what? Let me go down here and let me look up and then find it. Radio show rankings. I love that I get ranked for the top 100 radio shows in America by Talkers, the Heavy 100. But do I start at the number one? No, I kind of start, maybe closer to the end and then go. And then I'm really surprised because I'm like, oh, I get to flip pages and I'm all happy. But the idea that you're having parents, or this actually came from the Telegraph. That's an opinion piece by one of the writers saying we need to bring back humiliation. It's going to make kids better at school. I disagree with the humiliation aspect, but I do agree we need to do something. When we were giving awards and medals and trophies to people who didn't succeed, that rubbed me wrong. Because they were trying to say, look, we wanted to make them feel better. Yeah, but that was honorable mention, which I got. I have a pink honorable mention. I forget what sport it was in. But I did receive some, first prize and things for being anchor on relay. I really liked to run. I was good at that. But I don't know what I got my honorable mention for, but it's probably because I really sucked at one of the sports on field day. So give me an honorable mention. It allows me to have a ribbon that I did earn, but not the first place, second place, third place. Those people who beat out us should have that. Isn't Freedom 250 doing this big competition among high school students, boys and girls, for those who excel in certain sports? That's very cool. You need that drive. The GPA. The only reason why I got the GPA that I did is because I was in competition with other students. I didn't really want to compete with them. I was going to go do my own thing. They do theirs. But competition drives you. And we aren't really embracing the competition. And why? Because we think it's a bad thing. We think when people compete, they make mistakes. They do bad things. So let's say somebody goes, well, yeah, Dahlia, why don't you try and compete with Dave Ramsey? Dave Ramsey is, you should compete with him. I wouldn't even try. Dave Ramsey's show is fantastic. He knows his money. Yes, I give a lot of money advice, but no, that's not what I want to do. And then for me to make a mockery and a mess of my show just to try to compete with him, not good. But having other people in your life that push you, that coach you, which is why, we tell people if you're going to go on a walk or work out, go with somebody because they push you a little harder. Sometimes you need that push. A lot of people get it from their own self-incentivizing competitive nature. But for those who don't, it's like, I don't really want to beat you walking. I don't want you, whatever. Sometimes you need to get somebody with you. And they'll be like, all right, listen, you're buying lunch if you lose. So you try to beat me. Do things like that. It really does help. But our schools, you're gonna be hearing this term. They need to re-humiliate the kids again. So my answer to that is no spanking, no dunce caps. Those don't help. But what I do believe kids need is honesty. Let them know that their grade is ridiculous. It's a bad grade. It's a stupid grade. In fact, when I was in pathology class, I was, playing around, fooling around. I did good work, but my teacher gave me a check minus. The scores were check plus, check minus. So check minus was the lowest grade. So I saw that he did check minus. So the next day or the next class, I bring in a pen. I did a different colored pen because I wanted him to see. And I changed all those check minuses I had to pluses. Dr. Sutiru, did you do this? Do what? Did you change your grades? Why would I do that? What are you talking about? There's red pen. Changing all my grades to, why would I do red pen if I really wanted to change my grades? I would have done the same color pen. Why is it just your grades? I don't know. Maybe somebody here likes me. Don't do it again. I didn't get in trouble. But yeah, I wasn't very competitive in medical school. So I'll get the grade. I got good board scores. I just want to learn the medicine and be a good doctor. That's all I wanted. And I was very, very grateful for my training for that. But for our kids, where everybody's getting a ribbon, everybody's getting a trophy, we need to redo that. Them competing is already prize enough. But if somebody does really, really well, you could have first place, second place, third place, fourth place, fifth place, so that you widen the net of people feeling good about that. But we need to find our next superstars, whether they're artists or photographers, or whether they counsel or teach or mentor. So you can do awards that commend some of their great community service or work that they're doing. But somebody who needs to go to school and pass their tests, you don't give them a prize because that's just what they have to do. I don't want these kids thinking that when they go out into the real world and see, patients or have clients, that they're going to be expecting getting gold ribbons. Yeah, some of these workplaces might do that, but the average workplace will not give you a gold ribbon. In fact, you can do such a good job, you can even lose your job because you're too good. We need to teach these kids resilience. We need to teach these kids real life. When my, summer break is almost over, but when my kids were younger, they would be like, I don't need to do this because it's summer break. And I'm like, well, you might want to do camp. You might want to do, an extra class to get yourself, a little bit more up to speed on math. No, it's summer break. I go, in real life, there is no summer break. With the exception of Congress, every other adult works during the summer. And your teachers, obviously, with the exception of teachers. So you saying that no, this is the norm. It's not the norm. So should we bring back competition? Yes. Should we publicly honor those who excel? Yes. But we shouldn't, humiliate those who didn't. Just don't be giving people who suck awards. 1-877 Dr. Dolly, don't go away.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by financial fitness show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.